You can get high. You want to get high? Come on to the Father's house. Yeah, we're going to get high. But we're going to get high on the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost. Yeah. The doors of the church are open. I'm glad. Aren't you glad you came to the Father's house? Aren't you glad you came to the Father's house? Praise God, praise God. Once upon a time, there was a time when the people that came before us, they got the same temptations that you get.
Yes, sir.
Satan is on the job.
Yeah.
He don't take no time off. You got a job. And you kick back when ain't nobody looking. And you don't do no work. It's hard work trying to avoid work. Oh, yes it is. But you need to know that Satan don't do that. He's working on you and he's working on somebody else too.
Yes.
So just come on to the Father's house. There's somebody coming. Somebody coming. Somebody coming. Somebody coming. Now you can forget what you heard today, but if the Holy Ghost intended for this message to be for you, you will hear it when you get ready to go to sleep tonight. You will hear it. Doors of the church are open. Yeah, doors of the church are open. Yeah, this is my house, Jesus said. I'm going to say this right before I finish. That I was talking with one of my daughters yesterday, the one that don't come here very often. That when she was just a little bitty child, she'd sit on my knee. And while she was wearing diapers, and I taught her the scale. Teach her how to sing the scale. Then we change a note. And she was just still wearing diapers. And we just sit there and play that and do that over and over and over and over and over and over. So if she acts like, this maestro with music, there's always a beginning. Amen. Somebody had to help you get to where you are. You got that? Yeah, just because you're wearing, your shoes now and everything, and you know where everything is, and you're looking nice. Don't forget, somebody helped you get there. Don't forget that. Don't forget it. And I was talking with her, and I forgot this instance. She said, Dad, I remember when those two men came by over there on East Street. And they came by night. And they had all these maps and graphs. And they laid them out on the table and said, we have approval to take all of this land. And the only thing we're missing, we have to have it in Washington, D.C. in the a.m., in the morning. And the only house we don't have on this whole street, because there's acres to the side of me, and there's one house beside me, and then some more acres over there. The only thing we don't have is your house. And we're going to take your house. And I'm thinking, wow. Well, they showed me their ID. It was all official. These were officials from the government. And I'm thinking like, wow, these guys, they really have authority. And then they said, well, we want to see the rest of the house. And I'm thinking, this man has come here, it's about 11 o'clock at night. And I'm thinking, they are walking around like they own this place already. And I'm thinking, I don't like this. But we stepped into one of the bedrooms, and when we got there, they flipped the light on. And about electrical current came out of the wall. It was about like that. I guess that's about 2 feet. It came out of the wall like, and went back into the wall. And it was 3 of us, the 2 of them and me. We jumped back, because it was frightening. But as soon as that happened, I heard a voice in this ear right here, my left ear. This voice spoke to me and said, "This is my house." All right. I never forgot it. And we rushed out of that room, went back in there. That was God reaffirming the fact that when we were looking for a house to buy, the government had already put a mandate out saying that there would be no more home mortgages for 6 months. We couldn't even go to the bank, nobody could, to get a loan to buy a house. There was a freeze on. I want you to know that it was during that time that God arranged things for us to get a house. God did that. And when we got the house, we dedicated that house to God. Whatever you got to give it to Him. You got children, give it to Him. You got babies, give it to Him. And I tell God even now, I said, Lord, your children, they stayed with me and raised up in my house, but these are your children. Because I gave them to you. Now, I forgot all about that. But my daughter reminded me of how we stood firm and told them that night, we ain't signing nothing. Oh yeah, you gonna sign it, or you gonna lose the house and get nothing. I said, well, if I gotta believe you or believe God, I'm gonna believe God. I didn't sign anything. And they folded up their papers and marched out, and they left. That's the last time I saw them. Last time I saw them. Now, in that house, when we got ready to move from White Sulphur Springs back to Beckley, my wife said, Nelson, now we can get us a house where it's not 2 floors. And we don't have to walk up and down steps because we're getting older. And I said, well, that's true. We can get another house, 1 level. I said, but there's one other thing. I said, I remember how we got this house. I remember God made a way for us to get this house. I remember in every room I walk in, I said, one day, I said, we may get to the point where our minds don't work like they're supposed to work. Our bodies will get weaker with age. I said, but there's a miracle in every room in this house. And I can remember the miracle. Even when you start to get older with Alzheimer's or dementia, something like that, a room is just a room. But I can remember when I walk in that room, I could remember the miracle that took place. I remember being in the kitchen and Kristen ran in there with her eye. She had flipping that bang like that, and it flipped and fell on her eye. And it was as white as the white part of your eye. The colored part turned white. It burned that bad. And she was screaming and crying, screaming and crying. I can remember even today, after, to make a long story short, we went over to the hospital, we prayed and anointed with oil. I'm going to tell you the truth. When we left, the doctor said, got to the emergency room, they put all these tests in, came out, said, 80%. She's lost 80% of her vision. She's going to have surgery, and she won't be able to see. We didn't have anything else but prayer and God.
Amen.
Amen.
We didn't have anything else. We went over to see the specialist, and he gave him the papers. He read the papers. He examined her, and he said, "What happened?" We said, "What do you mean?" He said, "These papers say that she is 80% blind." He said, "But I've already checked her." He said, "And she was blind at the emergency room." He said, "Something has happened." He said, "Tell me, I need to know what has happened." And I said, "Well," I said, "we are Christians and we believe in prayer." And he looked at me and smiled. He said, "I am too. I'm a Christian also." He said, "And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap her head and cover that eye and do nothing to it." He said, "I'm going to see what else comes from it." Now, don't you know she was supposed to have had a whole redo of that whole eye.
Cornea transplant.
Yeah, what?
Cornea transplant.
Cornea transplant. But you know what the miracle was? She could see better after the burn than she could before the burn. That's the miracle. That's the miracle. In every room of the house, there was a miracle. So by the time I got through talking to my wife, she said, "Nelson, you're right." She said, "Now it would be real nice and comfortable to live on one floor." She said, "But I don't want to move out of here either." She said, "I want to remember the miracles."
Amen.
Amen.
I thank God.
Amen.
I thank God.
Amen.
I thank God. I thank God. You football players, I watched my son get hit down there playing football, and he was paralyzed totally. He couldn't move. They stopped the game. I want you to listen to me. They stopped the game for 2 hours. And they took scissors and cut his clothes off. 2 hours they stopped the football game. He couldn't move anything. I walked out of the stands and walked looking up in the sky.
Hey, Pastor.
And I said, "Lord, it ain't supposed to end like this. It's not supposed to end like this." And I'm walking toward it. And I got to it and I said, "Magic, can you hear me?" And he said, "Yes, I can hear you." He said, "But I can't move." Now, you would think a man would be a fool to let his son, who could not move, and they drove the ambulance to the hospital 5 miles an hour because they didn't want any shifting, any movement in the vehicle. Took him to the hospital. Don't you know he ended up, that was in high school, he ended up getting a football scholarship.
Hallelujah.
And playing football in college. All state. I don't know anything but miracles. Don't know anything but miracles. I went to visit Reverend Morton the other day.
Go ahead.
And I walked in, he put his hand out on the right. His right side is movable. The left side can't move. But when I went in to talk to him, We talked, shook hands. I played football with him in high school. We talked about how good God was.
Amen.
But let me tell you how I felt. I've had 2 strokes.
Fix it, fix it.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
I've had 2 strokes. And the cardiologist, the neurologist, Johnny D, said, I don't understand. He said, you haven't had 1, you've had 2 strokes. He said, but I don't understand why you still have strength in your hands.
Jesus.
I don't understand why your face is not sagging. I don't understand why there's no paralysis.
Hallelujah.
I said,
God.
God,
Man.
I owe him everything. I owe him everything. So when you see me acting a little strange,
Hey.
I ain't caring about what you're thinking. Not one bit. Other than to know that God can do the same thing for you.
Amen.
God can do it.
Yes.
God can do it. God can do it.
Amen.
I thank the Lord for you being patient with me this morning. I just had to get that
Go
out.
ahead, preacher.
I just had to get it out.
Take your time. That's all right.
I thank the Lord for you being patient with me.
Amen.
That's all right.
Because I've been going through some rough times.
Amen.
Since
Amen.
2011,
Amen.
been going through some tough times, especially 2014. That's when I had the 2 strokes, and then I had, my wife was diagnosed the same time, same year. And I'm getting better. I'm not quite all there yet, you know.
Amen.
I guess my brain looks like, you know, I don't know whether it's fried or whether it's scrambled. You like fried eggs or scrambled? Scrambled? I think that's what that my brain is. The Lord has blessed us. Did the Lord bless you? Has God bless you? I thank the Lord. Now,
Amen.
I thank you for coming out to sing this morning.
Amen.
You special people.
Amen.
God keeps good records. You hear me?
Amen.
He keeps
Amen.
records.
Amen.
His records are